We're kicking off day 3 of the 31 days of Halloween with fabric. Hi, this is Kelly from Kelly's Creative Dream Studios. And today we're going to fudge the fabric just a little bit, but we are going to use fabric. So what I wanted to start with was this paper. This was a photocopy of the fabric that is my kitchen curtains during Halloween. And so I decided we're going to use a piece of this to cover, to work as our base. So, and I want to make sure that I get, because it can go either direction. We got cats going one direction, we got cauldron, but I want to make sure that I have some purple in here, and you'll see why in just a little bit. So I'm going to, while my hot glue gun is heating up over here, and I get my ink spot out of the way, we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this down. I'm surprised my glue works. I came in here this morning and realized I had left the cap off all night long last night. Good thing it's a relatively new bottle is all I can say. So we're going to tuck that in over here. Well, guess not. There's not room over there. And then, like I said, I want to make sure I position this to where Book of Spells is in here. And I don't want to cut it off on the corner either. So, but we got stuff we're going to put on here. But I wanted this purple. And I needed it at the top because we're going to put something at the bottom to pull that purple, make your eye travel down the tag. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish this down. Looks like I need just a little bit more glue under the corners there, but that corners are going to come off anyway. So, but I want to make sure we have them tucked down good. This one needs a little bit more, and we're going to want that corner to stay. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this back over and burnish that down. Now, if you don't know, this is a face massager. You'll get it in the beauty aisle at Dollar Tree, and it's great for burnishing stuff. Now I'm going to come back in with my scissors, and of course I'm working over here without cheaters again today, so we'll see how this works. So I'm going to bring this up to where I can see. Now remember, if you want to cut up right up against an edge of something, turn your scissors at an angle and you'll go right underneath that edge and not clip your edge. And then you won't ruin your straight edge. And I'm not going to be perfect at it because I've got white on white without my cheaters on. So there is that. Now I knew we were going to do a flip through today, but I was gone all day yesterday. So I am putting this video together at almost 8 o'clock on Thursday night because I have to get up at 5 in the morning to make sure that the video uploads on my bonus time on my HughesNet. So I will try to get the flip through in here for Saturday's video. Probably Sundays because I'm trying to get some tanning done while Bob's gone, and it's a slow process. Okay, so now we have our Book of Spells up there. Now I'm going to use, instead of die cutting this out with the Tim Holtz tag, they're the same size when I punch them, when I cut them out roughly. But this space right here is the exact same size as the cutoff on Tim's tag. And I got this template, acrylic template from Maddie at Spectrum Art Creations. So I'm going to come right in here with my scissors and cut that off and move this over here. And I put the little sticker dot there so I'd remember that was the one that I was using. So all the tags would be uniform. And doing it this, then I don't have to necessarily die cut the tags. So I like that. And it has a little hole. I have it hanging on an S-hook over here on my bling box. So I always know where it's at. Okay, so now we have this. I think my glue gun is getting there. What we're going to do is we're going to make a ruffle down here at the bottom. And I'm going to start by putting just a little bit of glue right there. And then, I got some up there on the cat. Now we're going to, if we can get past the webs, but I guess it is a spider web, right? And then I want to fold this over. And the reason I'm using a glue gun is because I want this to adhere really fast as I'm folding this. So I'm going to put a little dot of glue there. And then I'm just going to accordion this over and press it down. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put a little dot of the glue. Now, if you want to use some kind of a craft glue, Fabri-Tac, you can do that. I never have a lot of luck with Fabri-Tac. And I usually don't use my glue gun. I usually use my craft pick glue. But I needed this to dry really quick tonight. So glue gun it is. So I'm going to put another little dab of glue right there. And it doesn't take much to hold that fabric in place. And then I'm going to put another little dot. And you don't want to overdo it. You don't want a glob of glue. You just want enough to create that ribbon. Just like this. Just barely squeeze that glue trigger and get a little bitty dot out. Now I may run out of fabric. I cut this 3 times the length of the card, width of the card. I probably should have done 4 or 5. So keep that in mind. And we're just going to keep running this across here. And if I don't get all the way to the end, I have another piece of the fabric cut over here. And what you're going to notice is, while I'm making this ribbon, it's not adhered to the tag itself. And we're going to come back and fix that. Right now, I just want to get the ribbon accordion in. Just want to create this ruffle. And then I'll show you how we're going to fix that in just a little bit. So this weekend I am canning turkey broth. And I have some downstairs that, now I'm going to stick this one right here. I have some downstairs in quart jars if I want to make homemade chicken and noodles. But for this one, for this one, I'm going to can it in pints, so if I just want 2 cups of broth for something that I'm making, then I don't need to open up an entire quart jar. Now I had that seamed right there, so I've got to make sure that I fold this over so that it seams and gives me my ripple right there. Okay, and I think we're only going to need to do this maybe 2 more times. Just like that. So I'm going to say 3.5 times the width of your ribbon will be enough. Or the width of your tag, rather, will be enough. And now I can set this back over there. And I'm going to come back in with this and snip this off. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail there. Because what I'm going to do, see, that glued down to that spot. And I didn't want it to glue just yet. Because now I can come in with my Tombow, run me a bead. Like I said, you could make that ribbon and then come back and glue it on if you wanted, and that would work absolutely fine. But I'm going to glue this down and make sure I've got it flipping the way it's supposed to. There we go. And there's our fabric ruffle. So any fabric that you like, if you have scraps, but it's not, you know, a huge piece for you to do anything with, you could do this. Or if you have a big piece of fabric, you could glue the fabric down here too. Use a paintbrush to adhere your Mod Podge or your Fabri-Tac to give you a smooth surface for that to lay down on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a dot of glue right here. And because I don't want to use my burn my finger again, I'm going to use my finger dauber and press that down into place and let that glue. And then I can come back and snip that off. Now, the other thing we're going to do, while I was out and about today, I picked up, oh, you know what would look really cool on there? Let me see. What about if we use the washi tape across the center of that to bring out that purple? That would look really cool. But to make sure it's going to adhere, I'm going to run me a strip, and I'm sorry if I get my head in the way. I'm going to run a strip of the Tombow glue across the top of there, because we all know that washi tape will lose its sticky, and I don't want this to come apart. So I'm going to run that right there, press that into place, and then come back and cut my tails right off of there, just like that. Okay, and then we have that. Now, like I said, I picked this fall buttons up. They're called Gwen Studios at Walmart. They are hand washable buttons, but we don't care about that, right? Because we're not going to wash them. But I left my X-Acto knife in the other room, so I'm going to have to figure out where this is taped at. I think it's taped right here. They do not want you to get these out in the store, do they? And I'm just going to dummy out a little bit of a pile there. And I will put them back. And I think I want a bright green. No, I don't like the green. A black, maybe? That's not really black. Let's see if we've got a black in here somewhere. Besides those great big ones. Purple doesn't really show. That black, oh wait a minute, there's two blacks there. There we go. There we go, that'll work. And we could put some orange thread in there to make that pop. See if I've got an actual orange over here in my thread. I have a variegated. Let's use this variegated. See if I can get it through there without too much trouble. And I'm going to snip it off. How are we doing on time? This will take about 2.5 hours to upload in the morning. Yay me. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get the thread through this hole. I don't think. I got part of it through there. But it's not going to go through without a little bit of help. I really wanted that button. See, this hole's a little bit bigger. Let's see how this one does. We were looking at the black, that's why. The black might work. I can make my eyes do what I want them to do. It wants to separate from that white. And I don't want it to separate from that white. We're going to try it one more time, and if it doesn't work, I will have this button threaded and in place on my Instagram this afternoon. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. We may get lucky. Just got to cut that where it was separating and make it not separate. Now, if I'd have thought ahead of time, I could have dipped this thread in glue and let it set up, and then my threads wouldn't separate trying to go through the hole. But we got lucky. We got lucky. Kinda. We got a knot, but we got lucky. Where is my white? There it is. It will go through there. I swear it will. Even if I have to clip that white off of there, that'll work. Because there are two whites around that orange. And I really only need the one. So if I can get rid of the one that's causing the issues. No, no, no. Don't unthread. Don't unthread. And it unthreaded. Okay. I will have that button in there tomorrow with the thread in the pick, well, this afternoon on that spot. And I may even decide I need a different color. I think a green would look good on there. Okay? So the other thing we need to do is punch our circle and get that up there. We also could have done a purple if I had one out, but I didn't have one out and available. So we're going to do the black right there. And while that's drying, I'm going to come back around the edge with my black soot and take that stark white off the edge. And that's going to do it for our tag this time around. I'm thinking maybe either a black or a purple on there. What do you think? Let's start with getting our hole punched. I can get yesterday's paper out of there. All the way. There we go, so I can see where I'm going. And I got that a little off center. I'm not going to sweat over it. It's a tag. Okay? It's a tag. It'll work. Okay, what shall we put in the top? I'm thinking a piece of black fabric. And I have this one. I have strips of fabric that I have just wound on bobbins so that I always have something handy. And I'm going to snip this down the middle because it's a little wide. And give us that. And then I will probably come back through, and whatever I put in the button here, I'm going to use, well, let's just tie it off. Where's our tweezers? Let's get our helper tweezers here. Put them right there. Snip this off. And we'll tie this up. And that'll work. Just like that. So tomorrow is SAC Saturday. So I will be using products that I have purchased from Spectrum Art Creations to make tomorrow's tag. And trust me, I have more Christmas than I have Halloween, but I do have some things that will work. I have some simple stories. And I love my simple stories. So there we go. So I will see you back here tomorrow for SAC Saturday. Remember to check my Instagram this afternoon to see how this all came together. In the meantime, remember to like, to share, subscribe, and spooky creative blessings.